So I heard you are currently planning your first trip to Japan. First of all, that is absolutely amazing, and I'm sure you will enjoy your time there. I am here to give you a couple of pointers for things that I personally believe you should take care of on your first day to kind of set you up for a successful trip and for an experience that is going to be a lot more pleasant. So let's start by talking about something that is probably not going to apply to everybody, and that is going to be the JR Pass. Now, after its price increase in late 2023, it's unfortunately not as viable anymore as it used to be, but if you decide to buy one anyway, you will probably have gotten one of these vouchers if you ordered it online. Now, this voucher will have to be exchanged for the actual paper ticket at any of the JR offices in Japan. So if you land at Tokyo Haneda Airport, for example, just look for the JR East office, hand them the voucher, hand them your passport, and they kind of will do everything else for you before handing out the paper ticket to you. Now, if you're not sure if it's going to make sense for you to purchase the JR Pass, I'm going to put a link to a JR Pass calculator in the description below. Just type in the locations that you plan on visiting and it will tell you if it makes sense for you to get one, basically. Right, now that we've talked about the JR Pass, let's talk about what I personally believe is going to be the second most important thing to take care of on your first day in Japan. And that is going to be getting an IC card. Now, I have the regular Suica card here. There's a plethora of varieties of these IC cards. If you land at Tokyo Haneda Airport, for example, you will have the option to purchase the Welcome Suica card, which is pretty much going to be exactly the same as what I'm holding right now. It's just going to have a different design and not be valid for as long as this regular Suica card. Now, these regular IC cards are valid for up to 10 years after their last use. The Welcome editions and more touristy versions, so like the Welcome Suica and the Passmo Passport, are only going to be valid for up to 28 days if I'm not mistaken. So just make sure to grab whichever one you are able to get at your kind of starting location and you will be good to go. Now, these are very useful tools to have. These are rechargeable cards that you can use to pay for public transportation. You can use them to pay at vending machines, at some convenience stores, and so on and so forth. And it's just going to save you so much time, especially when it comes to public transportation, because you won't have to wait at kind of busy ticket counters. So now that we've talked about the JR Pass and about getting an IC card, let's talk about something that is also very important, and that is to make sure to always have enough cash on hand. Now, Japan is still a cash-first country, so especially if you plan on visiting its countryside and its more rural areas, making sure to have a sufficient amount of cash is going to be key. Now, if you only plan on visiting Japan's major cities like Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, for example, then you may be able to get by only using your credit card. But even in these bigger cities, there are going to be a lot of shops where you won't be able to purchase anything using any type of card, and you will have to pay cash in these shops as well. So just make sure to have enough on hand. I'd also recommend getting more than you think you need. Just to be absolutely sure. You can always exchange it back to your currency at a later date, or kind of keep it for your next Japan trip, if you will. So let's now talk about what I personally believe to be the most important thing to take care of on your first day as a tourist, and that is going to be figuring out a way to be able to connect to the internet. Now, you have a couple of options for that. You can either purchase a data SIM card, a data eSIM, or a pocket Wi-Fi. All of them will give you pretty much the exact same 5G coverage, but I personally would recommend going with a data SIM card or a data eSIM, because this way you won't have to worry about an additional device that you have to keep charged and kind of keep track of. So it's just going to be a lot more convenient, in my opinion. I'm going to put a link to that in the description, as well as a link to where you can buy IC cards and the JR Pass, just to kind of make it easier for you. Now, why is it important to be able to connect to the internet? That is very simple. Apart from being able to share your adventures with your family and friends, you will also be able to utilize tools like Google Translate and Google Maps, which, if you don't speak Japanese and can't read any of the signs, may come in very handy. Now, Japan has some very big cities, and if you don't have a way to kind of navigate through them, there may actually be a possibility for you to maybe not get lost, but to make it kind of stressful for you to figure out where you have to go. So just make sure you grab one of those data SIM cards, eSIMs, or pocket Wi-Fis, and your trip is going to be a lot less stressful and more pleasant, in my opinion. Right, so now as a bonus tip to kind of close out this video, take it slow on your first day. You don't want to rush into things. Japan can be very overwhelming and very overstimulating at times. So I'd recommend starting by kind of exploring the area around your accommodation, figuring out where the nearest convenience stores are, where the nearest restaurants are, where the nearest pharmacy is, stuff like that, to kind of ease yourself into the Japan experience before kind of hopping into the more mainstream areas that you'd find on social media, for example. Now, personally, me and my friend, we kind of didn't abide by this idea and went straight to Shibuya Crossing on our first night during its most busy hours. And as a person that kind of suffers from social anxiety, I can tell you that doing that as our first thing in Japan was definitely not a good idea. I'd personally recommend taking it slow on your first day, exploring those little alleyways and back streets around your accommodation, getting acquainted with everything to kind of set you up for a better experience in Japan. Also, this way you'll be able to kind of come across little shrines and restaurants that you wouldn't have found otherwise, and I personally believe that that is going to make for an experience that is a lot more special. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I was able to provide some value to you. If you have any recommendations on how I could improve these videos in the future, just leave them in the comments below and I'll make sure to read every single one of them. And until next time, matane.